Hello and welcome to Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Two Therapists and a Microphone is a podcast show about mental health, relationships, and social issues that personally affect you. We broadcast live every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. on the Our Black Media Network.
That's right. So Harrison and I are two psychotherapists with decades of experience, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about the situations and dilemmas that you're going through. So please send us your questions by visiting www.twotherapist.com and click on Ask Two Therapists at the top of the page. That way you can
Absolutely.
get some real clinical information about diagnoses and things you might hear on TV that you don't really know about.
Absolutely. You might be experiencing some of those same issues. And
Yeah.
also, what I'm thinking about, I'm introducing to the audience if you want to come on the show, to talk
Oh.
about something, I could just send you the link and we can talk about it. You can turn off your camera if you want to, but we want to help you guys with some credible advice, suggestions, because it's about all we can do right here on this platform. But that's something we're going to start doing in the future.
I like it.
So today we got some hot topics that we want to talk about this Thursday. I like to always allow you to go first, Dr. Aisha.
Well, thank you. I know you went first last week for the first time, but you don't bring it on back to me. And this is one of my favorite topics. I try not to talk too much about politics, but this Raphael Warnock and see,
Herschel
my,
Walker.
my mind wants to block him out. It wants to believe that he doesn't exist because he's doing so well.
Good luck.
Surprising to me.
He might be our senator.
I know, and I hate it so much. But Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock did a debate, and I know we touched on. I don't know if we touched on the debate briefly last week, but we at least talked about them. I know we were talking about Herschel Walker's son.
We
That's what we
mentioned
were
it.
talking about. So I watched that debate, and let me start by saying, initially, my friends and I we were going to do a drinking game where we would take a shot every time Herschel Walker pronounced something wrong. But 10 minutes into the debate,
You're
that
going to
was
need a
just
lot of liquor.
we didn't want to experience alcohol poisoning. So we went ahead and stopped that. It was a horrible idea. But watching it just made me afraid. I've already been afraid for America, but afraid for Georgia because Herschel Walker, his pronunciation wasn't one of his biggest issues. He had a prop. He had the what is it, sheriff's badge or something,
That's
pretending to
what
be
he
a
said
police
it
officer.
was.
I still want to see it up close.
He
I
didn't
went and
explain it, though. He
I
didn't tell
tried
us
to
where it was
find
from.
I tried to find an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a Twitter, anything where he would actually post a picture of what he had so that we could look at it up close because it was kind of like he flashed it and he took it down. But my biggest issue with that debate,
Hmm.
me being a licensed psychotherapist, is
Hmm.
Herschel Walker saying that he has dissociative identity disorder and that he was okay, that is nothing he has to deal with anymore. He talks to his pastor and he's moved on. And so people who don't know what we call it DID
That's right.
is might be like, oh, okay, he had a little depression or something. He's okay. But that is not what dissociative identity disorder is. So I clutched my pearls. Like, oh, no, no, no. That's not something you can just get over, sir. It's going to be
So
with you for a while.
let me just interject real quickly. I was
Yeah.
watching the debates and I didn't know. I heard, some commercials and people saying he had a mental disorder. I never researched it because I really didn't give a damn. But when the reporter or the journalist said dissociative identity disorder,
I was like,
and I was sitting on the couch
what?
right behind me, I was like, what? Did he say what I just think he said? You're right. Dr. Aisha's right. That is not depression. That is not anxiety.
Mm-mm.
There's a hell of a lot more into DID than I think people really realize about that. But that's what I wanted to say. I was just as shocked.
Well, so for those who are watching or listening to us and you really have no idea what we're talking about when we say dissociative identity disorder, it is what the lay person or what we used to call multiple personality disorders. Know that it happens because of severe trauma,
Yeah.
but that there are also things that happen to someone who has DID that maybe they don't remember. So let me pause and say that it kind of explained a lot. Like maybe
It
he
scared the
really
hell out of
didn't.
me, but go ahead.
Maybe he really didn't remember having all of those kids or sleeping with his kids'
He could
mothers
have blackouts. Yep.
and maybe one of his personalities thinks they're a sheriff. They take on these whole personas. And so, based on his diagnosis, a lot of the other things make sense. But it also makes him being a candidate makes even less sense
Yep. Yep.
now.
He made it through the primaries.
Hmm.
And there are some conservative pundits who have also called him a weak candidate, considering, I guess, the other candidates in the Republican primary. No political experience. He lived in Texas, and he has a hell of a lot of baggage, with domestic violence and fathering four kids. And apparently, he didn't raise any of them.
Yeah.
His son came out. We talked about that.
Right.
So there's a hell of a lot of baggage, and now to just learn the mental health diagnosis that he had was DID.
Well, it goes
Real.
along with the symptoms.
So, yeah, do you have the symptoms in front of you?
I do. So
Okay.
I know that the symptoms of DID behaviorally are impulsivity, self-destructive behavior, or self-harm. In terms of mood, DID includes anxiety, feeling detached from self or
Yep.
mood swings. And
Yep.
psychologically, here's the big stuff, altered consciousness and depression and flashbacks. So amnesia and blackouts. That's what comes with dissociative identity disorder. And then he says that all he needed to do was talk to his therapist and he's
He said,
okay. And
Pastor.
no, I'm sorry, I said therapist. That's the problem. He said, Pastor, you do need to talk to somebody. But the common forms of therapy for that are more like cognitive behavioral therapy, maybe a little EMDR, some brain spotting, something to address the
And some
underlying trauma.
antipsychotic medication.
Yes, yes, definitely. And maybe from a cultural standpoint, they're coming at it as if he is possessed. And if that's
That's
the
that's
case,
that's what a lot of black folks think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If that's the case, then perhaps that's where the pastor comes in. I'm having a difficult time understanding, but I want to understand.
Yeah, I like I mentioned, I was surprised, but I had a client with DID years ago during my master's program internship, and I want to just reinforce what Dr. Aisha just said. We all, the layperson knows it as split personality. Let me tell you what that means. That means that there's another personality or two or three that can take control of him, and the Herschel Walker, who we all know, becomes someone completely different, controlled by this different aspect of his personality that is hidden. And commonly, there's a much more aggressive personality that comes out. Sometimes I've heard that personality is designed to protect the core person,
Right.
and then other times, the other personality is like a child, and they sometimes know each other, and someone has the authority to pop up anytime they want to. The primary core person, many times, they do not have control over it. I believe something triggers them,
Yeah.
and when one of the other personalities come out. So I don't want you guys to think, this is just Herschel being mad. No, it's not Herschel at all. It's someone else.
Exactly.
The other personalities have names. They talk differently. They sound differently. They come out, and take complete control. And this is the man who could possibly be a U.S. senator representing the great state of Georgia, where I live. So he's going to be able to make a lot of decisions, and he is telling folks that he doesn't remember all those violent episodes that he
Exactly.
had.
And like I said, now it makes sense. Once you tell me his diagnosis, for me as a therapist, it's like, oh, okay, he really doesn't remember.
That's
That's
possible.
what happened. And also, that's extremely dangerous. And now, one of the big things for me always is destigmatizing mental illness. And so I want to say
Yeah.
that having DID is not the problem. Going untreated and then putting out misinformation for other people is the
Say that
problem.
again.
So when you tell other people on national, well, I guess it's national TV, YouTube, if you're streaming it on YouTube, that they don't need to see a therapist, they could just go talk to somebody too. I mean, it's a problem.
You need to see a therapist with any of the mental health diagnoses. Even if you don't have one, you should go to avoid getting one. But Dr. Aisha is talking about an extreme pathological,
Yeah.
um, um, psychotic mental illness that is out there. That he's saying he simply went to go talk to his preacher. That is great. But that he
I mean,
didn't get a
his
whole.
pastor might be a therapist. Some of them go back to school. They
That
go, yeah,
happens. Yep.
yeah.
But I was just as concerned as you. But let me tell you guys about my experience with a DID client.
Okay.
In my master's program at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia, I went to work for the local county mental health services, the Community Service Board. I think that's what we call them in Georgia. And these are typically individuals with low income, didn't have a lot of money, and I worked in a unit with a lot of people with dual diagnosis. That means they had an addiction issue and a mental health diagnosis. And so many of them had depression and anxiety. Those are the mood disorders. But also, some of them had some mental health diagnoses that were very severe. And we just call them psychotic disorders. So the young lady who I had on my caseload, she had already received the diagnosis before I saw her. And I talked to her. She was a drug addict. She had a childhood filled with sexual trauma
Hmm.
from people in her family. She had been homeless, ran away around 12 or 13. At a certain point, she had become a prostitute and then ultimately addicted to some hardcore drugs. And she was in a residential treatment program, and talking with her. And all of a sudden, one of the sessions, she got real quiet and looked down, and she said something that I didn't recognize because it didn't sound like her voice. And she was talking to me with an angry, annoyed tone as I was talking about how she can get a job, a part time job. That was one of the requirements for the residential program. And this other person came out and had a stern look on her face. Her features on her face looked a little bit different, and a different voice came out, very stern, like a stern mother, and was cursed me out too, and told me that she talking to about my client in the third person was not going to get a bleeping job. I told you that before, and I wish you guys stopped, all this stuff. It was a lot of profanity laced into. I just sat there like, oh my God. I didn't know if she was playing or what, but it seemed so real.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I didn't know what to say. I got quiet, and then her head went down, and a couple of seconds later, she came back up and she looked like she was crying, like she was tearful about something, And I just looked at her like, what was that? And she told me that was so and so, this name that she had for the other person. Uh, Again, I don't know. She could have been acting. Her diagnosis was DID. I'm talking to her. She didn't like me talking to her about how she can get a job as a requirement for the residential program. I heard a different voice. I did not hear her voice. And she was a meek, skinny young lady, and didn't talk be of a whisper much of the time. But that moment, that was almost like a mean mom, talking to me, cursing at me about in her face, and the look in her eyes was very different. And but she came back, and I tried to talk to her about it, and all she could do is cry and say, "I'm sorry." So that was my experience. And of course,
Yeah.
I had to talk to my clinical supervisor about it. I was like,
Yeah,
I don't
back
want to see
then.
her anymore. But that's an example of DID. That's what Herschel Walker has
Hmm.
revealed to us that he struggles with. And I'm uh
No, no, he said he doesn't struggle with it anymore. He's good.
mm,
He struggled with it, according to him, but
he
he's
did.
good now.
That's what he reported. That's right. But there's a hell of a lot of evidence of him being extremely violent,
Okay. Yeah,
you
there
know.
is.
So I'm just letting everybody know, you really need to think about who you're going to vote for.
Well,
This
because
is
my thing is, I wouldn't. It's not because he has the mental illness, but what you're telling me is you have this and you're not going to therapy and you're not medicated, so you
it's not
are
managed.
unpredictable now.
It's not managed. So I just want everybody to think about that, in case, it flew over your head.
Yeah,
Anyone can have it. A number of black folks
yeah.
have that type of mental illness.
Well, it
And
comes from trauma
it comes from
most
trauma.
times.
These are the people we see on the street sometimes. They're homeless and they're talking to themselves
Yep.
and they're like angry, like they're talking to this invisible person, in front of them sometimes. And they're really passionate about it because they can actually see it. Being delusional is part of the diagnosis as well. So, thank you, Dr. Aisha, for
You're
bringing that
welcome.
up.
Thank you. So y'all go vote and vote early. Harrison and I have both already voted. So you go ahead and do that too. Don't let people not being able to stand outside and bring you water. Don't let that keep you from voting. It took me 10 minutes to get in and out. And that was right around 4 o'clock. So
Absolutely.
it's a perfect
Absolutely.
time.
It took me 5 minutes. I went in, got on out, went to work, but we should really think about who we're gonna vote for. Don't want to
Hmm.
tell you guys who to vote for. I would love to, but
But we won't.
but I won't. So thank you. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, that's it, Harrison. I want to hear what you have for me. What's your hot topic for
All
tonight?
right, so my hot topic is another one that's been in the news a little bit. Kanye West,
Uh,
and I don't know what's going on with Kanye. I don't follow Kanye
I just
West.
want to give him a big old hug and just.
I don't know if I want to give him a hug. Um, so I don't
I
keep
don't
up with them. I don't know what
understand.
the hell's going on. And there's been an interview recently on a podcast called Drink Champs.
Okay, I have to
That's
look
for
that
another
one up.
show. People
Okay,
listen to these guys drink and they get drunk and they talk about things while intoxicated.
okay, sounds
Well,
like
let
fun.
let me play a clip of Kanye West and what I've heard and what's been the consequence of it, and I'll tie it into something else. So let me share. I forgot how to share. Share screen and the video, Chrome tab, and share. All right, can you see that?
Nope, not yet.
Uh, I got to go back. Here we go. There we go.
All right,
All
I
right.
can see it now. Let's go.
All right, here we go.
I watched the George Floyd documentary that Candace Owens put up. One of the things that his two roommates said was, they want a tall guy like me. They want a tall guy like me. And the day when he died, he said a prayer for, 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. He said a prayer for 8 minutes. They hit him with the fentanyl. If you look, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. When he said mama is his girlfriend. They said he screamed for his mama. Mama was his girlfriend. It's in the documentary. But something that hit me, that fucked me up when I was watching the documentary, and it said, they want a tall guy like me. When I looked at that image of him, this tall black dude with the bald head, he reminded me of somebody else. Who do you think he reminded me of?
Virgil.
He reminded me of Virgil. You know what I'm saying? I'm not finna cry in front of y'all because that's how they get me, right?
Right.
But I know that we lost him.
All right. So,
Oh, that doggone Kanye.
Virgil,
I
I
know
had
who
to Google
Virgil
him,
is.
was the designer for
Uh-huh.
Louis Vuitton.
Hmm.
Virgil Abloh. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his last name. He was black designer. Apparently, he was very popular.
He
He
was.
died from a rare form of cancer, and this was in 2021.
Hmm.
Just to let you guys know who that is. But Aisha, listening to that, the George Floyd stuff, what did you hear?
That Kanye just hates everything black. Kanye hates black people. That's what I hear every time hear something come out of Kanye's mouth. He used to love them, and now he hates them. And just the last time I heard of Kanye, I guess this was a couple of weeks when he and Candace Owens had on the White Lives Matter shirt,
Yes.
and then he's had the Trump hat, and it's just like, eh, yes, there are some things you could point out, I suppose, that you disagree with about our African American communities, but Kanye hates everything almost now that
So,
has to do with black people. Kanye hates black people.
so that's
And remember,
I
wasn't it him who said Bush hates black people? Wasn't that
he
Kanye? Way back in
yes,
the day?
during
Okay.
Hurricane Katrina,
Yeah, he
the
said Bush hates
response
black people. And now it's yo, Kanye.
and
Kanye
and
hates
and
black people.
and black folks, we are the ones when your first album came out, which I believe was one of your best works.
Absolutely.
I think we all bought it back then. Was it College Dropout?
Yes.
We bought your CDs and your albums. We listened to you.
It was good music. I would
It was
still listen
great
to it
music.
today if I wouldn't think that he would get paid every time I hit play on Apple Music. Now I can't hit play because I don't want him to get even a thousandth of a cent from me.
Yeah, and I know his mom died years ago and everything, but he hasn't been right since then. But
Mm-mm.
you're right. He wore the White Lives Matter shirt, and when he was asked about it, he said because they do. And now we hear him spreading false information about George
Right.
Floyd. The family has come out and have issued a cease and desist
Okay.
and plans to sue him for
Oh, that's
emotional
good.
distress and
He
something
has
like
plenty
that.
of money. Get some of it.
Hey, he did it, but the troubling part about it, just like you, and thinking about what he said, and Candace Owens, I don't follow her at all. It just she keeps popping up. She has her own podcast, and they just have this thing that you and I may be familiar with. I believe we both taught multicultural counseling,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about Black identity development, and the negrescence model of how we become who we are as Black folks. The changes that we go through with our personalities, our outlook on life, and how we view ourselves. I'm not going to go into all of it, but there's a part of it, that's called internalized racism. And internalized racism is when, particularly the Black folks, began to believe the racist thoughts and opinions about what white people in particular believe who we are. Those descriptions, those characteristics, is when we believe it. And then we start criticizing other Black folks, just like the white
Mm-hmm.
people do, because they believe it. And this is exactly what I'm hearing from Kanye West.
Yeah.
There was a trial, there was a prosecutor, there were attorneys,
There
you know,
were so many videos. You're telling me his
videos. We
knee
saw it. The
wasn't on his
whole world,
neck? It
the
was.
whole. Go
What
ahead.
was
I'm
his
sorry.
knee then? Where was his knee? If it wasn't on George Floyd's neck.
And George Floyd was praying. Mama was his girlfriend. No, the man was calling out for his mom because he was afraid. But this is Kanye West and Candace Owens, who apparently has a documentary about it. That's trying to prove that this white police officer did not have nefarious intentions, when he put George Floyd on the ground and his knee on the back of his neck. He heard George Floyd crying and yelling that he could not breathe. He heard it. We all saw the video, but in Kanye's head, and I guess in some other Black folks, people, their head, no, that's not what he was doing. And now apparently he died from fentanyl, and the police officers gave
Right. I
him
was like, what?
or maybe he had fentanyl, but all I know is there was a trial. It was well publicized. Everything was researched, everything was uncovered, and the police officer was found guilty. And he decided
Damn.
not to appeal the conviction that he's under. So uh, it's hard for Kanye West to believe that there are white people out there who want to harm Black people. He and Candace Owen rather believe this Disney idea that maybe George Floyd caused his own death.
I'm not even sure they believe it. It's like they are contrarians. We're just going to fight everything that you black people say. If
Yep.
you make $1 billion, I'm surprised Candace Owens isn't coming after Kanye for being a rich black man and saying that he stole
They were
money and
acting
did
like
all
a
these other
couple.
things. They might be. They might be a good couple, except I know she's married to a white guy and
Okay.
has a couple
I,
children.
I
But
don't know anything about her except she went
far,
to North Carolina A&T, HBCU. I know that
now, is
much.
that where she learned to hate black people?
But I do know, I've lived long enough, and you alluded to this, Aisha. Sometimes us black folks, I can remember growing up, even as a young adult, hearing friends or colleagues who are black really criticize black folks, talk about us like we're dogs. Now, I have been disappointed several times by black folks, especially when I look at the voter turnout
Yeah.
sometimes. But I love black folks, and I know what we've been through. I know what our grandparents have been through, and I would never place exclusive blame on us because of the way white people treat us, keeping them in this privileged zone as if we deserve or we made them treat us badly or mistreat us. We made the Karens call the police on us. That's part of the internalized racism. And there are black folks out there who believe that. And here's just an example of Kanye West, expressing some of his internalized racism. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to bring up, because I'm really hoping that the other black folks out there who may have a little bit of that in them really think about it. Are you going to join the side of the oppressor to blame to blame the oppressed for the way the majority population treats them?
Well,
You
and
know,
but see, Kanye is not oppressed. He's like OJ.
yep,
Remember, I'm not black. I'm OJ.
yep,
That's
yep,
Kanye.
yep, yep. So that is real. I know people like that. I've experienced it, and as I grew older, I became much more confident to actually say something like, "Damn, that's some harsh, thoughts you have about black folks." I know we got some struggles. We got some things we need to
And,
improve.
everybody can do better in
But
some
but
ways, but
if I close my eyes and hear the same words, if you were white, I would be so offended
hmm
about what I would be outraged. So I encourage people, when you hear things like that from your black friends or colleagues or family members, call them out on it. If we don't want white people saying those type of things, why would we let a black person get away with it? And how unfair is that?
yeah,
Attacking George Floyd.
that was ridiculous. And see, that's why these videos never make it to me. People know not to send that kind of stuff to me. Have me around here walk around cussing and upset all day.
Yeah. So the host of the show, Noriega, I believe is his
Hmm.
name. I'm not into the hip hop stuff like that. So it's just what I read and saw. He has apologized for allowing Kanye West to come onto his platform. And so he has since deleted the interview video from YouTube. But of course, a lot of people caught it because it's been a hot topic, and I don't know what's going on with Kanye. Um, what he's thinking about, whether this is all a ploy to get more attention. But internalized racism is real. It doesn't help us, to view us the same way as the oppressors view us. It's not helping us at all. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to mention that, talk about it a little bit. I know people who are like that, maybe not so verbal with
Yeah.
it, but I think you and I grew up with certain people like, oh my God, do you hate black folks? Because you're about the blackest person I know. So that's what I wanted to talk about with that internalized racism. Hope you guys realize it or recognize it within yourself or other people. Kanye is doing that. Candace Owens, she's doing it. I don't know if it's for profit or what, but I don't think it's helpful for us at all. So that's my hot topic on
All
that.
right. Well, thank you. You showed me something new today that
Yeah.
I'm not sure I needed to see.
Yeah, isn't it bad? I mean, it's one thing to hear white folks uh, degrade us like that,
Hmm.
but then to open your eyes and see, no, that's a brother doing that, blaming George Floyd. George Floyd should have simply been arrested. He was using counterfeit money. I don't know where he got it from to buy something in the store. The store owner called the police. They came out. He should have just been arrested and charged and, go to trial. Instead, somebody made a decision to put their knee on the back of his neck for more than 8 minutes, and he died because of that decision. Although people on the curb, remember on the video, were yelling at him to get off of him. That person decided not to do it. So and we all protest. I know I did.
I did too.
Many people protest, and for someone to now come forward and express some falsehoods about how he died.
I hope his family gets some money from Kanye. Kanye has money to throw away. Give it to you. Owe it to him.
Think about what you're saying. I don't even know why he went there. I don't even know how George Floyd came up. Sounds like he was promoting Candace Owens.
Yeah.
So everybody can go look at this documentary. I'm not watching it.
Me either. Absolutely not.
I don't give a damn.
This is my first time hearing about it, and I'm hoping it's the last.
I saw the video of George Floyd, and I know what I saw. I don't need to hear a documentary. I know about him. I know about his family. I know about his lifestyle. We all learn about that. But I just think it's truly degrading to do that to a dead person, another Black man. So that's all I have to say about that. Any final words from you?
This everybody. Let's do better. Let's do better as a people. Let's help each other, pull each other up, and let that include you going to vote, preferably early.
Absolutely. And my final words, like you, love you, embrace you, and the other folks who look like you. Let's not get on the side of someone who is determined to hurt you. I don't know how that works out for any of us. So that's my final word. I'm going to get off my soapbox. So you guys have been watching Two Therapists and a Microphone. I am Dr. Harrison Davis.
And I'm Dr. Aisha Dickerson.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next week on Thursday. I think we're going to be off next week. But every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Like this.